Welcome back to Iraqi Dinar News, your trusted source for the most accurate, timely, and insightful updates on the Iraqi dinar global currency resets, and everything you need to know about the Arvitha revaluation that continues to capture the attention of millions around the world. If you're passionate about the financial freedom that can come from being informed, you're in the right place. Make sure you're subscribed and have the notification bell on, because today's update is one you won't want to miss. What we're about to discuss could potentially change the financial landscape for currency holders, especially those holding the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong. We are witnessing a truly historic moment unfold, and the news just broke. There are confirmed reports from multiple banking sources across several jurisdictions that indicate a shift in rate structures for both the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong. This isn't speculation. This isn't just talk from forum chatter. It is coming directly from within the banking and institutional finance sectors. We've had contacts from Tier 1 and Tier 2 banks, as well as credible intel from financial institutions in Dubai, Zurich, and the US, all pointing to coordinated movement that suggests the revaluation is not only real, but imminent, some instances, quietly initiated already. And we're not talking about marginal adjustments here. These are shocking new rates that, if confirmed, represent a massive leap in value for both currencies. Let's start with the Iraqi dinar. Over the last few years, we've seen it fluctuate within a tight and mostly controlled range, dominated largely by monetary policies and external influences, especially from the US Treasury and IMF. However, in the past 72 hours, whispers from inside major Middle Eastern financial entities indicate that the IQD has been placed on a live trading platform, not in a test environment, but on an active tier-level interbank trading system. One of our contacts working with a regional financial authority in Abu Dhabi reported seeing the IQD listed at a tentative exchange value of $3.91. Yes, you heard that correctly, $3.91 per Iraqi dinar. That is nearly on par with the Kuwaiti dinar and reflects long-held beliefs that Iraq would eventually re-emerge as one of the strongest currencies in the region, supported by its immense oil wealth and growing gold reserves. What makes this update even more intriguing is that this figure was not simply a one-time data input, it was active, visible for over 2 hours on a live rate monitoring system accessible only to authorized institutional investors and high-net-worth clients. It was then pulled back to pending status, which is typical in such scenarios, indicating they're preparing for a broader rollout, but want to control the initial exposure. This mirrors previous global RV patterns we've seen in countries like China, Vietnam, and Brazil, where rates quietly appeared before being officially launched on the forex markets. In fact, some forex terminals in Dubai and Singapore briefly listed the Iraqi dinar with a buy-sell spread for under 10 minutes before being taken offline. Now, shifting over to the Vietnamese Dong, other fan favorite in the currency revaluation space, there have been equally impressive developments. As recently as yesterday, bank officers in both Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi began reporting internal memos being circulated indicating a transitionary rate model was being activated. The internal rate displayed in those systems was approximately 47 cents per dong, a sharp contrast to the current market average of roughly 23,000 VND to 1 USD. This is a massive leap and would signify an increase in value of more than 10,000%. If these numbers hold, and our sources believe they will, this means anyone holding Dong could see substantial gains once the rate becomes available for public conversion. One particularly noteworthy development came from a mid-level banker in Singapore who deals with currency exchange for offshore clients. He mentioned that his team received notice that non-traditional currency exchange activities will be suspended for recalibration over the weekend, particularly those involving the IQD, VND, and Zimbabwe ZIM bonds. These suspensions often indicate back-end updates being pushed live to prepare the infrastructure for new rate uploads. It aligns with what we've seen in past global financial realignments, where systems are temporarily paused to ensure a smooth transition when rates shift dramatically. There's another major clue that shouldn't be overlooked. The IMF's website recently posted an update about ongoing discussions with Iraq's central bank regarding currency stabilization mechanisms and global integration frameworks. For those who read between the lines, this typically refers to exchange rate policies being redefined to reflect true market value. In layman's terms, they're preparing for the dinar to re-enter the global trading stage at a much higher rate, and that re-entry won't just be symbolic, it will be tied to new contracts, new oil deals, and likely new foreign investment protections. These are the core indicators of a nation preparing to reprice its currency in accordance with its true asset base. We also can't ignore the international geopolitical factors at play. Over the last 6 months, the BRICS nations have made significant strides toward establishing a gold-backed digital currency system to rival the petrodollar. Iraq, Vietnam, and other nations rich in natural resources are key to this transition. They've been quietly moving away from USD dependencies and positioning their currencies to stand on their own. Iraq in particular has increased its gold reserves to over 132 tons, something central banks do when preparing to stabilize a currency at a higher value. Similarly, Vietnam has entered into new bilateral trade deals with Russia and China that bypass the dollar entirely, using localized currencies and gold equivalents for settlement. This signals not only confidence in their own currency, but a clear intent to raise its profile on the global stage. As these events unfold, the reactions from major banks in the West have been cautiously optimistic. Several Tier 1 U.S. banks have reportedly moved dinar and dong currency holdings from Tier 3 investment portfolios to Tier 1 liquidity pools. This is massive. It shows that banks are now recognizing these currencies not as speculative instruments, but as liquid assets with real, immediate value. This only happens when a revaluation is seen as not only possible, but probably and imminent. In fact, one senior executive at a New York-based investment bank reportedly told a private client, "You'll want to have your paperwork ready within 48 to 72 hours. Everything is about to change." So what does this mean for you, the individual investor or holder of dinar and dong? First, it means your patience is finally paying off. Many of you have been holding for years, if not over a decade, through rumors, false starts, and disappointment. But today, you're closer than ever to seeing the reality of that long-awaited return on investment. Second, you must be prepared. Once these rates go live, they may only be available for a limited transactional window, possibly 7 to 10 days, depending on how the exchange protocols are structured. And finally, we strongly encourage all of our viewers to have their plans in place now. Know your redemption locations. Understand the difference between street rates and contract rates, and work only with trusted financial advisors who are familiar with currency revaluation scenarios. Let's take a moment to also address the tiered redemption structure that's been whispered about in RV circles for years. We're now receiving confirmation that high-level redemptions are underway in the form of early exchanges through private placement programs and Tier 4B redemptions. While the general public, Tier 5, may have to wait slightly longer, the dominoes are clearly falling, and every tier is now in motion. Some high-net-worth clients have reportedly received SKR's safekeeping receipts, confirming their funds are pending release once public rates are activated. This isn't theory anymore, it's real, it's documented, and it's happening now. We must also talk about NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, which are reportedly being used during some of these early redemptions. If you're offered a contract rate, understand that an NDA may be part of the process, preventing you from publicly disclosing your rate or experience. These are standard procedures when financial institutions are managing large-scale global transitions and want to avoid a media frenzy. Be aware, be prepared, and know your rights. On the technology side, multiple banks are upgrading their systems, including HSBC, Wells Fargo, and Standard Chartered. They've begun integrating blockchain-based verification systems to handle these new asset-backed digital currencies. These upgrades are meant to provide transparency, security, and a smooth client experience. Once the RV goes live, all signs point to a coordinated, sophisticated rollout, not the chaotic free-for-all some skeptics predicted years ago. This will be controlled, calculated, and closely monitored. Now let's talk security. If you are holding physical dinar or dong, make sure your currencies are stored securely. Bank safety deposit boxes, home safes, and insured currency vaults are all viable options. Do not bring your currencies to unauthorized exchange centers. There will be authorized redemption locations made public when the time is right, and you'll want to make sure your exchange is done legally, safely, and with full documentation. Scammers are already trying to take advantage of this moment. Don't fall for promises of early access or private groups that require large upfront fees. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.